Welcome to our weekly program, The Inside Story of Chabad in America through the Mindel Archives. L'Kovet Chanukah, in honor of Chanukah, I want to share with you a very interesting and amazing short letter that someone wrote to Rabbi Mindel, and the Rabbi Mindel showed this letter to the Rebbe, and then the Rebbe answered something very, very interesting. Now, the letter was written in Yiddish. Someone wrote it in Yiddish, and I'll try here to just translate it in English more or less, if I can. He writes like this: when I came in the year 1924 from Poland to Russia, I lived in the city Yekaterinoslav about 13 years. In the years of the 1920s, one of the circle, he writes, the Kreis department, section, Abteilung, by the Kreis executors, the financial department that was found on the Kazanske Street, number, he writes, 22-4, ungeführt, headed by the director or the manager through a Jew with the family name Schneerson. And as people spoke then, wie man hat geschmust, he was a very religious Jew. A few years later, I was wondering, because the rest of the Umführer, the other people from the Kreis, from this circle, from this department, mostly were not Jewish. But in this case, in this fall, it was a Jew, and not only a Jew, it was a religious Jew. And this brought him, so Arusgerufen, a wonder by Jews. Jews are wondering, a big wonder, that there's a Goyim, and he was like a director or a manager of this department. I don't know, he writes, where he is, where he went, and what happened to him. Wo ist später hingekommen? I don't know where he is, Schneerson, and I was always wondering where he is. A few years ago, he writes, I came to this land, America. I was told, by the way, zufällig, that the Lubavitcher Rebbe is Menachem Mendel Schneerson. And here I reminded myself of that Schneerson in Yekaterinoslav from those years. Was he related or a close relative to the now Lubavitcher Rebbe? That's how he writes. This was in the early years, in the 50s. For sure, he says, it's not him. In other words, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he doesn't think is that person. Probably it's not the same person from Yekaterinoslav from then. Why? Because he is almost as my age. So he writes it couldn't be him. Maybe is that manager or director, was he a father of Menachem Mendel Schneerson? Was he a uncle of Menachem Mendel Schneerson? So he doesn't know. So he's writing to Rabbi Mindel where he is or who he is. I was told then, he writes, he was a godly man and at the same time working in financial department. For years, he's in my thoughts. I heard many wonders, miracles he performed. Again, is he related to Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe? Now he writes, this is interesting, I want to tell you a few stories, but he only said one. This holy man Schneerson did. A story of what this man Schneerson. This was, as far as I remember, in those years 1925. What does he write here? He continues. What he was told. This was Chanukah. Schneerson was walking outside, and someone was walking towards him. A Jew. The Jew stopped Schneerson and said, Rebbe, I am a Jew and I need a miracle in my life. A big miracle. Give me a blessing. And he started to cry bitterly. And he doesn't write what the problem was. The Yid did not tell Schneerson what the problem was, that he needed a miracle. So Schneerson answered, today is Chanukah, a time of miracles. Everything in this world is by, he writes in Yiddish, Trefenung von Gott. Everything is by, I guess this means, by divine providence. And Schneerson asked him, did you light last night the Chanukah candle? He answered no. So Schneerson said, come with me to my home. They went, and Schneerson gave him candles to light. And Schneerson told him that God watches over every Jew. And God promises, as Zokzu, he writes, that the blessing rests in the Chanukah candles. Then Schneerson said, and even if a person has this and this problem, you will light tonight the candles, God will bless you. This man did not, and he underlines, tell Schneerson what the problem was. And thank God, this person moved later on to America, and he became a religious Jew. Is that Schneerson related to the Lubavitcher Rebbe? That's how he writes to Rabbi Mindel. Interesting. Then Mindel writes, he showed the Rebbe, I showed the letter to the Rebbe. The Rebbe was very moved. The Rebbe was excited. The Rebbe was to see him. The Rebbe put an interest. And the Rebbe invited him to come to his house with Rebbe Chayemushke to eat. And they ate. Spent a long time in the house. And he says, the Rebbe gave him later on 2 pictures. One picture was from the Frierdiker Rebbe, and one picture was from the Rebbe's father. And the Rebbe wrote in the back, wrote in something in the back. And he told him to carry this picture. I guess to carry a picture of a tzaddik is a shmira. This is the story of Chanukah. In other words, the man was Rebbe Levitz, that was the Rebbe's father. There was the Rebbe's father. Now this is an unbelievable story because how the Rebbe's father knew, he says, about the problem. He told him exactly, and he did not tell him what the problem is. It's amazing. And Bichlal, you can learn a lesson here that Chanukah is a time of miracles. We all need miracles. Befrat now, in the time of a war in Eretz Yisrael, we need a big Yeshua, big miracles. And as the Rebbe says, when we light the Chanukah candles, we should sit and with the parents, the grandparents, the children should sit and look at the candles and hear what the candles are telling them. And they should say over maises of tzaddikim, of stories that they can say over this story also. So that's I wanted to share with you the story this letter that I found, which I found it now. I had it a long time ago, of course, but I found this now in one of the books of Rabbi Mindel. Thank you very much.